So, tell me something terrible.
All right.
This is off to a great start. All right.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, we're live.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Scott.
And today we're going to talk about something terrible.
Because that's what this is called. Tell me something terrible.
Yes. And I remembered my line this time.
Good job. Quick side note. We do have social media because we're like hip. What?
Trying to quietly take a drink.
But yeah, we have a Facebook page. You can just search Tell Me Something Terrible. We're the orange and blue icon. I don't know. I assume we're the only one.
With our faces on it?
Yeah, with our animated faces, kind of. Pixelized faces? I don't know.
Comicized faces?
Comicized? Like kamikaze?
No, like comic.
Oh, comic book. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Poor choice of words.
Facebook, Tell Me Something Terrible. We are on Twitter at TMSTpod. Yep, I have to spell it out. I really want to say TMNT because that's what I've been saying my entire life.
Turtles.
For
Turtle
turtles.
power.
Yeah, those tortoises. But anyway, so yeah, if you want to give us a like or follow, and also if you have Apple, like, subscribe, review, all that stuff helps because we're still obviously super new at all this and trying to build a little bit of an audience. Easy words. So yeah, and tell your friends. Just the terrible ones.
Okay.
I'm
All done with the pluggables?
Pluggables?
Yes.
Yes. We are fully plugged. That's...
Are you sure you want to say that?
Nope. It's just out there on the internet forever is all. Okay.
Are you all done with your fully pluggables?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Like an electrician. That's what you're talking about, right?
Sure.
Okay. Good. I assumed. All right. Can we please go on?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So today's topic, we're going to be discussing the terrible double homicide of Lollie Winans and Julianne Julie Williams.
Wait. Oh, the middle name? Those weren't middle names.
No, those are nicknames.
Okay. Can
Yep.
you just give me just their nicknames?
Okay. So their nicknames, which is how I'm going to be referring to them, are Lollie Winans and Julie Williams.
Lollie and Julie.
Yes,
Okay.
Lollie and Julie.
What's Lollie short for?
Laura.
Okay. Like a nickname or like
Yes.
almost like a pet name at that point.
Yes.
Okay. Like Lollipop.
Aw. So, I meant to print out their pictures, and I never did. We'll post them when we post this story.
Okay.
With
On
the
our
photos.
Twitter.
On our Twitter.
Go follow
Yes,
it.
and-
TMST Pod.
Yes, and probably our podcast too, because there's a doggo in this story. He's a good dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're making it sad already, and we're like 2 minutes in.
Yes, well, it is sad. So our story is set in the picturesque Shenandoah National Park. It's going to be fun to say Shenandoah a full drink in. Nestled in the Appalachian Mountains near the northwestern side of Virginia.
Okay.
Yep. So
I bet you it's beautiful in the fall there.
I'm sure it's beautiful, probably, well, most likely all year round. It is Virginia. I mean, they don't get that much snow. It's in a valley.
Okay.
Okay. So after meeting at a nonprofit organization in Minnesota that focuses on education and adventure travel for women called Woods Women, Inc., Lollie Winnan and Julie Williams bonded over their love for the outdoors and eventually the love they had for one another. 2 years later, on May 19th, 1996, the pair headed out with their golden retriever named Taj on the hiking trip that would take a deadly turn, cutting short the lives of this vibrant couple much too early. You gotta get some flowery language in there.
Yeah.
Is that real English major coming out in me?
Good.
Yeah, the full 3 months I spent as an English major.
So they have a golden retriever named Taj, like Taj Mahal Taj?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is so cute.
He's a golden retriever. Of course he is.
Yes.
Have you ever seen an ugly golden retriever?
No.
Exactly.
So before we get into the gruesome and...
Because they don't have a hairless breed.
I mean, with
If
as
you
much...
send me one more picture of hairless cats... They're not cute.
Oh, but it's part of my job.
Stop it.
That's a bad joke.
She waxes people, in case you're curious what she's talking about.
Before I don't send him those kind of cats. I send him the actual
Massive
hairless
invasion.
cat.
All your clients are like, I'm never going back there.
Oh no, I really hope not.
No, she's talking like Dr. Evil's cat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that Dr. Evil's cat or was that his son's cat?
It was definitely his cat.
Okay.
For every time I've heard Scotty don't in my life, trust me, I know that scene well.
So before we get into the gruesome and depressing details, let's start on a high note. So just before everything goes downhill from here.
So that's as high as I get. Was that good? I bet you that sounded so good on here.
Oh, it translated real well to audio. Mm-hmm. Everybody just shut everything off right now.
It's at 6:09, so when I edit that out, I just needed to make a quick note of that. Okay.
So Lollie was from a wealthy family from Michigan, and I swear I was trying so hard to get away from Michigan cases, and I didn't plan for this to happen.
It's because you got called out.
No. I didn't want to, and then I started researching this.
Episode 3 had nothing to do with Michigan.
No, but it has something to...
Except for we went there.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, it felt comfortable. I knew it. This case, I didn't know anything about, and I started researching, was already dedicated to it, already 11 pages in it, started reading the article and went, fuck, she's from Michigan. So I tried really hard, and then it still wound up
Is she from
linking
part of
back to
Michigan?
here.
I'm not going to know which direction it is?
No, it doesn't mention where her family's from.
Just a wealthy family from Michigan?
Yes. So...
She's not from our hometown.
No. So anyway, she left her privileged lifestyle behind in Michigan and moved to Maine and wound up attending Unity College. In the meantime, she worked as a wilderness guide and has been described as several sources as, you're going to love her, microbrew drinking, fish following, cigarette smoking, good time girl.
We'd be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just inhale that secondhand smoke.
Yeah, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I don't mind if people do. I no judgment here.
No. So Julie, on the other hand, was a geologist in the making who loved sports. I feel like you'd be really good friends with both of these people. She played tennis in high school, which is the only sport you're bad at.
I'm not bad at it. I just need more practice at it. Mm-hmm. I think I could be good at it.
Maybe.
Although now the side-to-side movement just
messing up those knees.
Yeah.
And that hip flexor.
It's literally a sore subject.
So she then traveled to Europe to study the extinction of dinosaurs, spoke fluent Spanish, helped with disenfranchised people such as migrant workers and people suffering from abuse. She worked in Vermont in a bookstore and was about to begin her new job.
So she's literally been a paleontologist, all these things, and now she's working in a bookstore.
Well, she was studying. She's working. She was working on her degree.
She just seemed a little underemployed at that point.
Well, I'm sure. Well, you know how much a bachelor's degree is worth these days. So she was worked in Vermont in a bookstore and was about to begin her new job at Lake Champlain in Vermont on June 1st, 1996. And so once the couple returned from their hiking trip. So in fact, this trip was actually in celebration of Julie landing her new job.
Okay.
Could not find what that job is. They were just celebrating it. So now let's start heading down the slippery slope of sadness, shall we?
The slippery slope of sadness.
Yeah, I really like a good alliteration.
That really slid off the tongue.
It did. Don't make fun of my alliteration. It's my weakness. Which is why we have tell me something terrible.
I'm not sure that's an alliteration.
Okay, well, it makes me feel good inside, so. So investigating crime scenes in a busy national park like Shenandoah presents its own challenge. The fact that this case took place in the 90s presents a totally different challenge. When it comes to investigating crimes in a national park, jurisdiction has to be established first. Luckily, Shenandoah is considered federal land, so this fell underneath the FBI jurisdiction, which means that they have the official authority over the investigation, but during the initial search for Lollie and Julie, it was handled by the National Park Service's special agents and the Virginia Police's crime scene unit, which was brought in to help with the investigation and supply much needed equipment to the FBI.
You'd think you'd want the park people there. Like, FBI guys aren't going to show and be like, oh, yeah, I know this area. Like, you would definitely want the park's help. Like, I don't care whose jurisdiction it is. Maybe keep the park people around.
The rangers? Yes. There was one ranger, I didn't include it in this, but there was one ranger that said that was involved with the search for them. That said that it affected, I can't remember their name, that it affected their career. Like before, it was just like their summer job and it was whatever. And then actually being involved with the search for bodies made them aware of like safety issues and the fact that people could like die out here. So it made them much more cautious, brought awareness. They feel like it made them a better park ranger. So this did have a little bit of a silver lining for at least somebody. So
he's like, oh, this is like an actual place people can hurt themselves.
Yeah, and he took his job much more seriously. So who knows how many people they helped out in the long run. Anyway, okay, so I lost my spot. Crime scenes outside have a high chance of contamination. So the area of the crime scene is more widespread, encompassing the initial crime scene plus any potential area that a suspect could have entered or exited the scene, which could leave possible evidence behind.
A lot of security cameras out in the middle of a park, I assume.
They do have some cameras, though. That'll come into effect later.
Parking lots or something.
So that makes evidence a lot easier to miss. So the weekend that the murders took place was the weekend after Memorial Day, and a shocking 1.57 million people came into the park that day.
Oh, that's crazy. In one park in one day?
That weekend, sorry. So like over the course of like...
Still, that is bonkers.
Yeah, it's a huge park.
That's more than Disney World.
Yeah, it's a really popular
And there's
park.
no rides. You got to walk everywhere.
Literally, like over 500 miles of hiking trails.
How have I never heard of this park?
I don't know, but it's going to be on our bucket list.
Shenandoah, right?
Yeah, it's in Virginia.
Yeah, I know. I didn't forget that part.
Well, I don't know.
We're 12 minutes in. I'm not like completely...
You've been drinking.
Okay, but I can... anyway. But yeah, I feel like I've heard the word Shenandoah, but still, like I would have never guessed it was that popular of a state park?
National park.
National park, okay.
Yes. So this massive amount of people...
So that's your theme this week was...
National parks.
National parks.
Yes. I didn't mean for it to happen. Apparently that's just going to be my thing, is themes. So this allowed for mass amount of transient movement among the visitors, which can in turn make it easier for a suspect to slip in and out of an area going unnoticed. It also presents a very, very large pool of people that could be potential murderers.
Only 1.5 million. I don't see what the problem is.
Yes. So, and with it being the 90s, forensic technology was still in its toddler stages, so any DNA evidence collected gave a very basic profile of somebody, like a blood type, gender, whether or not someone is a secretor.
Secretor?
Yes.
Secretor of what?
I meant to look it up exactly, and with as much podcasts as I've listened to, you think I would remember exactly, but it has something to do with like DNA present or like blood type present in semen. So it just has something to do with cum.
Oh, wow.
Which, because there's non-secretors, I do remember there are non-secretors and secretors, and non-secretors of whatever it is that's in their semen that they're looking for, it's a very small window of whatever it is. So like, there's like a 1 in 10 chance or something like that someone's a non-secretor. So it's easier
like a
to kind of...
vasectomy?
I don't remember. No, because that wouldn't make any sense. Because then people wouldn't be able to... There's a serial killer who's a non-secretor.
I was hoping secretor happened to do with like sweat or some other bodily fluid. Nope, you just went, okay.
Straight to cum.
Straight to the sailors.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
That's a seaman joke. Sorry.
So the sheer size of the
secretor.
park... No. This... Wow.
Proceed.
All about the size with you, huh?
You're talking about Secretor. I thought that's where okay, anyway. The park. It's a big park.
Yes, it's a big park. The sheer size of the park had an impact with the investigation as well, with Shenandoah being over 80,000 acres and having over 500 miles of hiking trails. They had to find the bodies first.
Our local park, the one like we take the dog to, is pretty big. Like, and there's probably like 10 miles of trails.
Yeah. And
I
there's
can't
a
imagine
swamp
it
in
being.
the middle of it.
Yeah, I can't imagine a park trying to search a park 50 times bigger than that. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. So after a day of hiking at Shenandoah National Park, Lollie and Julie settled into a peaceful little spot off a horse trail next to a little mountain stream. They built their campsite only a quarter mile from the most famous trail of the park named Skyline Drive. But because of the backwoods camping laws that were in effect in Virginia at the time and are still in effect in Michigan, their site was far enough off the trails to not be spotted by fellow hikers and trail riders. Sounds quaint, right? Nice little stream.
Yeah.
Off away from people.
Sounds like a proposal place.
Aw.
No, I'm just talking like Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, maybe what happens if that was the plan? That would have been real sad.
We'll never know.
I know. We'll never know.
Also, quick side note. If you ever join our Patreon and join our Discord, I made a channel strictly for Schitt's Creek. I didn't tell you about this.
No.
Because we needed like content on there, so I made one that was literally just for Schitt's Creek because it's it's both of our favorite show of all time, pretty much.
David is my spirit animal.
So yeah, so I made a Discord channel strictly for Schitt's Creek.
I love you so much.
Good. Keep reading your story.
Okay. So the FBI actually thinks
I love you too. I didn't want to just leave that hanging for the rest of the podcast.
It's been real awkward. Like, this is not awkward enough. Just ignoring the fact that I said I loved you. So the FBI actually thinks that settling next to the mountain stream may have drowned out the sounds of any approaching footsteps from strangers. So if you're going to go out in the woods...
We need to get rid of our fish tank immediately.
No. I would say Bella would warn us, but she's a horrible watchdog.
Oh, she has tiny ears.
She doesn't have tiny ears.
Okay, proceed with your terrible story.
So they began their trip on May 19th, 1996, which I think I stated before. Again, bad writing. And according to the photos on their camera that was found at the campsite, a rough timeline of Lollie and Julie's was put together. First, they set off into the woods on the White Oak Canyon Trail, emerging a few days later due to rain. Next, according to a journalist named Barry Yeoman?
Yao Ming?
Okay. I should look up last names.
No, I told you, we are not going to pronounce last names correctly.
No. They hitched a ride with a park ranger and renewed their camping permit with the park before embarking on more hiking. They then climbed Hawks Bill, which is the highest mountain in Shenandoah, before making their campsite next to that little mountain stream. There was no record of the pair after May 24th.
Right between our birthdays.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
Their trip was scheduled to end May 28th, when they would be back to their summer jobs. So, on May 31st, after the pair had been gone too long from their trip, Thomas Williams, Julie's father, notified the authorities that the two were missing. Shenandoah Park rangers then set out to look for them. They found their car parked by Skyland Lodge, which is near Skyline Drive, which is that quarter mile away from where they set up their tent, and began searching the nearby trails. The rangers quickly found the golden retriever Taj.
Oh, they had their dog with them?
With them through the whole hiking trip.
Gotcha.
Yes, and so he was alone, and off leash. So like he was just wandering about. So once they found the dog, they were like, "Oh, we need to hurry."
Yeah. Because he would be with them.
Right.
More than likely. Okay.
Yes. And so the rangers hastened their search for the couple. On June 1st...
You feel like the dog would take you back to them, too, if they were, like, at their previous site.
Right.
Yeah.
But they searched off of the trails where they found their car, which was only, I think, a half mile total away from where they found their bodies. So the park rangers seem to have they were really involved, and I feel like they were really good at their job.
Yeah.
So they tried their best. So on June 1st, 1996, the day that Julie was set to start her new job, which could you imagine being the poor manager that got that call?
She's not coming in today. Yeah, she's not ever coming in. Yeah.
The searchers came across their camp located off of Bridle Trail, which was that half mile from their parked car. At the site, they found the bodies of Lollie and Julie. According to the National Park lead investigator, Tim Alley, Lollie was found inside the tent, gagged with her hands and ankles bound in duct tape. Duct tape that had been, oddly enough, used to tape Julie's mouth shut as well, because they found Julie's and Lollie's DNA on it. Julie was found approximately 30 to 40 feet away from the campsite down an embankment, also gagged, but with only her hands bound in the duct tape. Both Lollie and Julie had their throats slit.
Oh, okay. Took a turn.
Yes.
I thought they were gagged, like strangled to death, not like, yeah.
Very, very horrible, which is why I wanted to start it out with like their accomplishments and what they were doing and who they were as people before we got into like the really horrible details of this case. So both were also found partially undressed, but neither bodies showed any signs of sexual assault, or at least there was no semen found on their bodies at the crime scene. So the National Park Service waited a full 36 hours before announcing the murders to the public, with the acting park superintendent, Greg Stiles, calling it an isolated incident, followed by the FBI announcing that the murders seemed to be, quote-unquote, random.
Okay.
Yeah. Come to find out, this might not have been an isolated incident of violence after all. Enter our first suspect.
Behind door number 1.
Yes. What I felt There's only 2 doors. It's still an open case. So Daryl David Rice. Rice decided he needed to stir some more things up I can't say more. He just decided to stir some things up. Allegedly more.
The stirring rice.
Yes.
Sorry.
So a year later, at Shenandoah Park, Yvonne Malbasha from Canada was cycling south on Shenandoah's Skyline Drive, enjoying the view. She was separated from her friend, but thought nothing of it, thinking that she was just fine. Uh-huh. So after all, crimes in national parks are rare. Rice then sped up behind her in his truck, forcing Yvonne off the road. He started screaming sexual profanities at her as he stepped out of his truck. He then tried to force her inside of the truck, and after fending him off, Rice got back into his truck and attempted to run her over several times.
This happened before they thought he was a suspect?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so this was a full year, I think a year and a couple of months after the murders of Julie and Lollie.
Okay.
So he gave up and sped away after the failed attempts to kidnap her. The National Park Rangers took immediate action. After being tracked down and his truck searched, hand and leg restraints were found inside. Daryl David Rice had never been convicted of a crime before, although he was fired from his previous place of employment for sexual harassment, physical harassment, and being an overall rude, short-tempered prick.
Sounds like a great guy.
Yeah. Like, he was, like, he would jump into, like, elbow people and, like, purposefully, like, knock coffee out of their hands. He would tell people to show him his tits. Like...
Show him his tits.
Sorry. Show them their tits. He was wildly inappropriate.
Just a class act all around.
Very much so.
Yep. Wholesome. I believe that's the way he was described most.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
So he eventually pled guilty to the attempted abduction of Yvonne and sentenced to about 11 and a quarter years in prison, which they recorded as like 135 months, but...
Did you do the math?
I did.
Why didn't you just leave it at crazy months, like he's a baby?
Because that's exactly why it bothered me.
You don't want to call our daughter 87 months old?
No, I don't. Is that how many months old she would be?
Well, no, she'd be like 89 months now. But
Come on, Mr.
I
Calculus.
just rough estimated it.
So, side note, he was released in 2007.
Oh, good. So he's
Yeah.
just back out knocking coffee out of people's hands, asking people to show them his tits.
Their tits. I think the FBI actually got phone calls wherever he's living now from residents, like being upset that he was there, and they're like, sorry, we can't do anything about it.
Like, just move.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
No.
This is who he is.
Yes. So this triggered the investigation into Rice for the murder of Lollie and Julie. Mm-hmm. The FBI found a ton of circumstantial evidence to help build their case against Rice. Apart from the parallels between the murders and the attempted kidnap with the leg restraints and arm restraints, predatory behavior, location, female victim profile, Rice was also spotted on surveillance cameras entering the park at 8:05 p.m. on May 25th. Remember, their last known whereabouts was on May 24th, which is the day after. I just said that. And again,
in case you didn't have a 1996 calendar in front of you, the 24th is the day before the 25th.
I think that might be true for every calendar, not just 1996.
Oh, I know that. I was just letting you know that.
Thank you. And again at 4:57 p.m. on May 26th.
Okay.
Your birthday.
It is my birthday. Not 1996. That was my 8th birthday.
So he also comes back to
I
the
got
park.
nothing that I can remember.
Whatever, you're 8.
I only remember what I got on my 10th birthday, nothing before that.
10th is a big deal. Double digits.
Exactly. And I got roller blades.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You still have those?
No. I also wore I had tiny child feet at that point. Like, why would I still have?
I'm pretty sure I probably wear the same size shoes now as I did when I was 10.
Yeah, and our daughter almost wears the same size shoes you do now.
Ow!
I'm just saying, you have tiny feet. Proceed.
So he came back. He also came back to the park with friends on June 1st, which is when they found the bodies. And we both know that perpetrators of crimes usually arrive back at the crime scenes within 24 hours. So I just think it's kind of convenient that he showed up back at the park.
I say take Taj around him and see how he acts. The dog would know.
That would have been a great idea.
Dogs always know.
They do. They're a good judge of character. So, of course, this is just wild speculation with, him with all of this circumstantial evidence arriving at this time.
That's one of our areas of expertise anyway.
Wild speculation? Yes. So Rice denied being at the park on the 25th and the 26th.
He's on camera and he's like, I wasn't there.
Exactly. He doesn't deny arriving on the 1st, but he totally denies the 24th and the 25th. Super sus, right?
A little bit.
Yes. So Rice's cellmate, while he was incarcerated for the attempted kidnap, he alleges that Rice was, quote, crazy into porn, and it was some, quote, kinky shit, like girls tied up on chairs and stuff.
That's why he called him Wild Rice.
No.
Okay.
The prosecutors also alleged that, quote, Rice has stated in several occasions that he enjoys assaulting women because they are, in his words, more vulnerable than men.
So he would assault men if they were vulnerable?
Maybe.
Okay.
They also allege that Rice said...
How much porn do they have access to in prison?
I don't know. It was in a magazine.
Okay, I'm very confused. Anyway, never been to prison, so...
I would hope not. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot to discuss.
Yeah, we do.
So they also allege that Rice said the, quote, women, Julie and Lollie, deserved to die because they were gay.
Oh, so he's a real progressive, wholesome fella.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Okay.
Yeah. It's a good word for it. I like it.
Yeah.
Sarcastically.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure it read as sarcasm
Yeah.
and people aren't like, ugh, this guy.
I forget we're in an audio medium here, so my facial expressions, like how painful my face gets, doesn't always come through.
Mm-mm. There is also an additional murder that Rice was suspected of committing, the death of Alicia Reynolds. There was not enough evidence to charge Rice with that case either. The FBI also thought that Rice may have been the Route 29 stalker, who I have never heard of, surprisingly, and he might deserve a deep dive dedicated at some point.
Route 29 stalker? Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't even know where the Route 29 stalker is. You just always hear about murderers being on like the Pacific Northwest. And I have heard of Lisk, which is the Long Island serial killer, but I haven't heard of anything else from that region. So
we don't even know where Route 29 is.
I have no clue, which is why I said a deep dive might be in order.
Do people call it Route 20 or Route 29? Route?
I think it's root.
It's always root, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Root is like the thing that comes out of the ground, like a root of a tree.
That's a root of a tree, but anyway.
It's a root.
Okay, go jump in a crick.
I will. Grew up with a crick and a swamp.
Crick goes in your neck, creek is a water. Okay.
So with all of this...
You seem distracted.
I am mildly distracted.
Okay.
So with all of this quote-unquote evidence in hand, the Attorney General John Ashcroft announced the indictment of Daryl David Rice 5 years after Julie and Lollie's death on April 10th, 2001.
He shares initials with Dance Dance Revolution, by the way. DDR.
Oh, he does.
Sorry.
Had to get that out.
I can't
right?
not point that out when it comes to me, yes.
And because Rice mentioned in an interview that Julie and Lollie deserved to die because of their sexuality, hate crime charges were also brought against him, which could lead to the death penalty. So the case quickly fell apart, though. In 2003, a strand of hair found on one of the duct-taped restraints that was tested for DNA. It came back as an unknown male. So that DNA exonerated Rice because it could not place him at the scene of the crime.
Also could have been like the guy that's at the hardware store,
or the manufacturer, or anywhere. They found that, like with the John Benet Ramsey case, they had unknown DNA on her underwear, and they're like, it could be touched DNA from who knows who.
Yeah.
So in February 2004, the charges were dropped without prejudice, which means that he could still face charges at a later date. That's a good point, though. Like hair from somebody else.
Well, I mean, it depends. If it was like, I don't know. I guess if it's hair, like if it's on the inside, like that's not going to be from anywhere. But if it's on the outside, like I don't know.
It didn't.
If it's a long strand of hair,
from.
then I guess it's probably anyway.
I mean that is a good point. And like I said, it was the 90s, and also this DNA eventually decays over time, so it becomes. That's why it's unsolved.
Yeah.
So there's also a second person of interest. His name was Richard Ivanitz. So Ivanitz had completed suicide in 2002 after police connected him with 3 other murders. Forensic evidence has not excluded Ivanitz from involvement in Julie and Lollie's case. So that was their only other suspects that they've let known to the public.
How is he tied to this one?
That's all I could find.
Okay.
I found 3 articles that had mentioned it. That was the only blurb.
He must have been there around that time and as a known murderer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how would they just be randomly connect the dots? Yeah.
Also, this is still an open investigation, so there's not a lot of information that's going to be very.
Got you.
Yeah, out to the public because it is still technically under investigation.
So don't hold us liable for anything we've said in this podcast.
Yeah, please.
We can't afford a lawyer.
No. Maybe don't say that.
Okay, but it's true.
So with over 15,000 leads over the last 25 years, the FBI considers this case open and unsolved. The National Park Service and the FBI have joined forces in a combined national effort to find the killer of Julie Williams and Lollie Winans. John Williams, Julie's father, is still convinced that Rice is the one that was responsible for his daughter's death. And Adam Lee, the special agent in charge of the FBI Richmond Division, says he does not want to consider the case cold. This is a pending case, and I bristle at the term cold case. We will stop at nothing to find justice in the case, and until we have exhausted every means, we continue to this day to exploit the existing evidence and to try to obtain new evidence. Julie and Lollie are not forgotten in the Richmond Division of the FBI, and we are going to aggressively pursue every lead in this case.
It's got to be so hard at this point, though. What new evidence are you going to get? They've obviously combed through every ounce of video footage they have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not going to find anything new at this point.
That's why crime scenes, like crimes that happen at places that are outside, like national parks and stuff, are so hard because everything could be scattered.
Well, and the people coming in and out are so fluid. There's no, like, you don't have to buy a ticket to get in there. You just come and go as you please kind of thing. Yeah, that would be so hard to even, like, pin. I'm surprised that crimes at state parks are so rare. Like, because it is such, like, not like an easy play. Like, it's obviously still, like,
it's convoluted enough that it would be easy for someone to get away with something.
Yeah, but maybe
let's also not give people ideas.
Well, and probably nowadays there's so many more, like, cameras and, like, because most of them do have
CCTV.
Like, they do have like pretty singular routes in and out. Like, they would probably be able to detect, like, people coming and going out better. But in '96, like, yeah.
That's why this case is so hard to find. And again, that DNA it degrades over time. They might be able to test something as technology advances, but it's very,
in fact, they didn't
find a deathbed confession,
and they didn't find like the weapon somewhere. Like,
no, their throats were slit. It could have a knife can get thrown anywhere. It's 80,000 acres.
Yeah, or just taken with them. Yeah.
So if this podcast ever gets farther than just like local and you are listening to the backlogs of the episodes, as of 2021, the murders of Julie Williams and Lollie Winans is still an open investigation with the FBI. If you have any leads or tips regarding to this case, contact the FBI Richmond Division at 804-261-1044.
And tell them we sent you. Not that they'll know who we are, but I feel like that's what you have to say after that.
Yeah.
Use promo code. Sorry.
We are nowhere near that level and will probably never be.
I don't think cops accept promo codes anyway.
I mean,
or especially the FBI.
Hopefully not.
We did watch both seasons of Mindhunters, so we're pretty much in the FBI.
Totally.
Which I'm so sad that got canceled.
That's so sad.
Anyway.
So how do you feel after that?
That one was like, I like despise unsolved cases because I love closure. Even if I would take bad closure over unsolved cases. Like,
are you sure? Because like, what happens if someone ends up on death row and didn't do it?
Okay, no. I mean, I want them to be like definitely guilty, but like, there's a reason I don't watch like unsolved murder shows because it's like the most inferior. That's like games and like sports games ending in ties. Like, I need to know who won. Not like one, like, not saying murders like have winners and losers, but I just need to know an outcome one way or the other.
Right.
So that's like it's a very, not unsatisfying, but like it's just inconclusive. And it sucks because two people are dead and there's just like their family's got nobody to like, not nobody to blame, but they don't know.
There's no justice.
Yeah. They just don't know. Yeah. And there's nobody.
And justice couldn't be found. Like, there are some cases where family members have died and like years later they finally found the murderers, and it's like, that's really sad. Their parents are gone and they'll never find anything. No closure.
Yeah.
So it's a nice depressing thought, right?
It's I mean, it's just a sad story. Like, their lives seem to be like just getting like they're feeding under. Yeah,
they had a ton of potential.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, obviously, like, the victims are super like, it's a sad story to start with.
I thought I really drive that nail in when I was like, hey, let me tell you about these people, and I know you would be friends with at least one of them.
Yeah.
Just to make it even sadder.
Yeah. No, it's sad. And it's, I guess, it's hard when there's not even like, there's multiple victims and neither of them like, and they probably, neither of them will ever admit to it, like, even unless it's like some sort of like deathbed confession kind of thing. Mm-mm. So yeah.
So first deep dive, maybe Route 29 stalker?
Maybe. We have to figure out where Route 29 is.
I mean, obviously somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah, I only know where Route 66 is, so I assume 29 is farther east. That is completely a wild guess. I have no idea.
Wild speculation?
I assume that they numbered them right to left across the map.
Maybe.
That's guaranteed not how it's done. Geography, is not a strong suit of mine.
It's not a single American strong suit, so it's fine.
It's good. I don't even know all the capitals, so.
Me neither.
Good.
Lansing is Michigan's.
It is.
That's pretty much as far as I can get you.
Yep. Good job.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening to number 4.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you got this far. This one's a long one, actually. Although, after editing, maybe it won't be. But it looks a long one so far. So hopefully you feel like $1,000,000. Tiff really brought your spirits up. So maybe episode 5 will just be full of sunshine and happiness.
Doubtful.
But, I mean, this is called Tell Me Something Terrible, not like,
Rainbows and puppies.
Oh, rainbows and puppies. Speaking of which, I'm about to go cuddle our dog to make him feel better about Taj and how he was left without parents.
Oh, no.
All right. Again, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys in episode 5.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
So the sources for this case include www.strangeoutdoors.com, NBCWashington.com in an article by Julie Kerr, and www.blueridgeoutdoors.com and the FBI. And I really want to highlight the article in the blueridgeoutdoors.com. It was done by Kim Dinnan, and it was incredibly well-researched and well-written, and I hope I didn't slaughter the timeline she presented and the information in her articles too badly. Thanks for listening to our terrible podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at TMSTPod.
And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at Tell Me Something Terrible.
Oof, that was terrible.